is up, everyone? It's Gage here. Welcome to your Buck Dad. And today I have my co-host, Kim Filler, and we're just going to discuss many things that's going on with the Bucs, the upcoming game, Michael Williams later in the show, and the biggest one all of us are talking about. Like, one topic that we didn't think we would have to talk about because it shouldn't be a topic. Mike Evans, could this be his last year in Tampa?
It could be. It 100% could be. And the window is closing, on the negotiation period. Mike Evans has given the Bucs until Saturday to come up with an agreement on the new contract. And if there is no agreement in place, negotiations are off the table, I would assume, till after the season. Here's my take on the Mike Evans situation. We'll break it down so even those in kindergarten can understand it. Mike Evans is the ultimate team player. He is what you want in a teammate. He gives back to the community, through the Mike Evans Foundation. He's one of the most unselfish players you will ever meet in the league. When all these guys are running around, it's all about me, throw me the ball. I want more catches. Mike Evans is all about winning. As numerous times he has renegotiated his contract, restructured things so the Buccaneers could sign Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, even Russell Gage last season. Okay. Those players coming to Tampa were going to take targets and catches away from Mike Evans. He was all in. He was willing to do that to try to help the team win. So that's the first thing we got to know about Mike Evans. He is the ultimate team player. Now, let's flip the coin a little bit. Mike Evans is 30 years old. That's not old, but it can be kind of old in football years for a wide receiver. There's only a couple of wide receivers in history that have gone on to have good seasons after 30. Randy Moss had a couple, but then he really slowed down.
Yeah.
He's the one that comes to mind right now. So Chris,
like you said, there's been very few. Like one, I would say Jerry Rice. Like he's a rare player. Mike Evans could do that if he utilized his skills. Because when you get older, it's harder to run and all that.
Yes.
As we know, as we get older, Mike Evans could do it. You know what I mean? And I just want to kind of get that out. Yep. But
no, absolutely. I mean, you don't know. I mean, he could be another Tom Brady. I mean, we don't know, but the law of averages are against that. The other thing that you have to look at from a team perspective, Chris Godwin's going to want a new contract, and Godwin is going to command about $20 million. He's 3 years younger than Mike Evans. If you're the Buccaneers, where do you put your money? You give it to Mike Evans or do you give it to Chris Godwin? You cannot commit $45 million to two wide receivers on your roster.
That's quarterback money. That's your money you be toward the quarterback.
No, can't do it. Okay. Tristan Wirfs, his rookie contract's about to be up. He's going to command a minimum of $20 million, and I'll bet you he gets north of $25 million. Look at Tunsil in Houston last season. He signed for, I think, $25 million, maybe a little bit more than that per season. And Tristan
Tristan Wirfs is better. Like, he's a top five tackle.
Right. He is. He is, in my opinion, best tackle in the NFL. Okay, he is. But because he plays in Tampa, he doesn't get the notoriety of some of these other jokers around the league. So you got that. Antoine Winfield Jr. is going to be due for a new contract. We got the Devin White situation. So with all these younger players that the Bucs say are part of the nucleus and part of the program that they're putting together to create a winning environment and a winning team, how do you justify paying Mike Evans that kind of money? Okay. One more thing about this whole thing with Mike Evans. There are Bucs fans that really don't care if they sign Tristan Wirfs or Antoine Winfield Jr. They just want Mike Evans to get his money. Okay. Well, then the Bucs will stink for another 10 years. Okay. That's fine. Don't bitch when they're in the toilet the next 10 years. Okay. Where did Emmitt Smith finish his career?
Emmitt Smith finished his career with the Cardinals.
With the Cardinals. Okay. He was a fan favorite in Dallas, Hall of Famer. How do you think the Cowboy fans felt when, Jerry Jones deemed him no longer needed in Dallas and just kind of kicked him to the curb?
Well, I'm sure they weren't even thrilled about it.
Look at Randy Moss. Great receiver, Minnesota. How many teams did he play for before he ended up retiring? Hall of Fame.
Between 5 to 6 teams.
Right.
And interesting about that, he was hanging out with some of his former teammates, and that coach, Brad Childress, later like, hey, Bruce going to trade you.
Yeah, exactly. Look at Jerry Rice. He ended up with the Raiders. One of the best wide receivers to ever put on cleats. And yet the 49ers found him to be expendable at some point. So he went on to finish his career with the Raiders.
Which is unthinkable because you can't see him not with the 49ers.
And keep this in mind, too, about the Glazers. The Glazers really don't care once you're that age and they deem you no longer able maybe to produce at the level you once did, but you're going to command that high salary. Derek Brooks, cut, 2009. Okay. Got Warren Sapp. Contract ran out, not renewed, signed with the Raiders, went on to play 4 more seasons. John Lynch, same situation, ended his career in Denver. Those are all 3 Hall of Famers, and those are all 3 guys that the Buccaneers said, you know what? Don't need you anymore. You're done. You've given us all you've got. We don't think you can give us any more. We're not going to pay you that money. You're out. So don't think that they won't do the same thing to Mike Evans, because they're those kind of people.
It's the history proves that, only player they kept was Rondé Barber. That was all of Famer. Luckily, he was the one that did finish his career as a Buccaneer.
That's right.
So I guess there's a little hope, because they've done it once at least. And my take is on Mike Evans. You look at you can't pay both of them. And one of them's going to have to go. I think we all kind of knew it's going to head this direction eventually. We kind of want to keep it together for the Tom Brady era, but that's over now. We got to look towards the future now. And Mike Evans and Godwin. Mike Evans older, but with Mike Evans, he's a leader. I think he's in we need Mike Evans. We need someone because David's going to be gone soon. We're going to lose a lot of veterans eventually. Mike Evans could be around for another 4 to 5 years. And Mike, I think, would be in the middle of the Bucs. I think he would take a little less, maybe not $25 million, but maybe around 20, 19. I think he'd be willing to do that as long as he gets his guaranteed money. Because he's that type of guy to do that, as long as he gets paid. And he's just an expendable as a leader. And he's been a face of his franchise since he was drafted. Like, just day one since he's got there, he's been the guy there. Chris Godwin, don't get me wrong, he's a special player. He's done amazing with the Buccaneers, but let's be honest, his injury history is not sexy. It's been on and off. Last year he tore his ACL. This year it's the first time he's been healthy. Then it's on and off of injuries. Mike Evans has always been healthy. Mike Evans might get dinged up, but he's been healthy. He's played most of the games of his career. He's got 1,000 yards every year. And Mike Evans might be older, but he's the type of guy that could play till he's 36, 37. And even he's already said this. I only want to play 3 or 4 more years. I'm good after that. So we know, he wants to end his career as a Buccaneer. So I think sign Mike Evans. But, I think keep in mind, this is what the Glazers are going to keep in mind. They got a lot of players re-signed. Winfield, Tristan Morris, all those guys. And that's going to be it's going to be a big key factor. And Buccaneers fans, it's going to be – they might be saying Glazers out if Mike Evans doesn't get signed because, everyone loves Mike. Everyone loves Mike. He's that type of guy. He's a very rare player to have. He's loyal. That's rare to find because most people are out for the money or it's a rarity that you find someone that's dedicated to a team like that. So, I'm hoping Mike comes back, but in my opinion, I pick Mike over Chris Godwin any day.
Well, there's a lot of similarities between Mike Evans and another Mike, Michael Jordan. Everybody wanted to be like Mike. Ultimate team player, put winning above all else. Had that, that killer mentality when it came to, winning games. A good leader in the locker room, a good mentor to the young players. Took a lot of young players, under his wing, helped coach and develop them. So I mean, there's a lot of similarities there between the two Mikes. But what would you think about this if I told you that in 2024, Buccaneers receiving corps is going to be Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, Trey Palmer, Devin Tompkins, and Raheem Jarrett? That's going to be your starting five.
I wouldn't be very confident. I wouldn't be very confident for many reasons. One, Chris Godwin, one thing that's always going to be concerning me is his injury. Like, is he going to tear his ACL? Is he going to be dinged up enough where he can't play? Like, is he going to be out for a couple games? Russell Gage, he hasn't done anything. You guys know I'm a big fan of Russell Gage. Like, I was excited when he came to Tampa, but he tore his ACL. I don't think he's playing next season. In my opinion, I think he's going to get cut or traded. I think he's out as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Like, he has great potential, but he can't stay healthy. If you're not on the field, then you're wasting everyone's time and money. You know what I mean? It's a business at the end of the day, and this is, if you're not going to contribute to the team, then why are you here? You know what I mean? And Russell Gage, great teammate, but just he can't stay on the field. And those other guys, they have great potential. I won't lie. We have a lot of upcoming young guys, but I don't know if any of them are proven. And so with that receiving core, I would be very concerned with.
That's fair. One more thing about the Mike Evans situation before we move on to the Vikings game this weekend. Rumor on the street is that Mike Evans wants a contract similar to that signed by Cooper Kupp a year ago. 3 years, about $75 to $80 million. And $15 million in bonus money, and the majority of that guaranteed.
Oh,
so does that?
Yeah, I think he wants that guaranteed money.
Does that change your thoughts at all on the financial ramifications of signing Mike Evans to that new deal?
I think it's always a high price at first. I think because that's a negotiation. You're not going to say what you want because the other parties are going to want to go lower because you're not going to win all the time. I think he's not going to get that much, but I think Mike's going to have to go right. He's going to have to meet the Bucs in the middle. Maybe somewhere around, because that's probably like 24 million, 23.
It is.
Like, I'm going to say my original number, like 2019. I think that's where the Bucs. I think the highest they go is 20 million per year. Because they're not going to go any higher than that, in my opinion, because they got other players to sign. Mike, if the Bucs at least offer him 19 million minimum, that he should take it. You know what I mean? And it's all guaranteed money. Because he's at the end of his career, he's won a Super Bowl ring. I would understand if he walks because he can get a lot of money somewhere else. But if he really wants to retire a Buck, then you got to meet the Bucs in the middle, man. We don't have that kind of money. You know what I mean? We barely got past the cap this year. You know what I mean? So we have a lot of people to pay, but if he wants that kind of money, then it breaks my heart to say this because Mike is honestly my favorite player. We would have to let him walk. You know what I mean? Like, we can't pay that money. We just can't. You know what I mean? We got Mayfield. We got lots of players to sign. It's not doable. 19 and 20, sure. Definitely. With guaranteed money, I would do that in a heartbeat. But if I was the Buccaneers, but 24 to 25, I'm sorry, but we got to segment the team on this one.
Mm-hmm. And news broke late this afternoon, early this evening. Shaq Barrett has restructured his contract, freeing up $10.68 million, I believe, in cap space. So there you go. There's $10 million possibly for the Mike Evans contract. I mean, we don't know what the Buccaneers are thinking with that restructuring, but that was the first thing that I thought of. Well, there you go. They're trying to free up some money for Mike Evans.
Possibly, but I think I already saw a report. I think it was by J.C. Allen or Rick Stroud that they are actually going to be using that for practice squad expenses and other team operations. and they might might cost like maybe a couple million, like 3 to 4. So they might have 4 or 5 million left, 5 to 6, I should say. So they might actually look at getting a receiver for minimum. Like personally, for me, there's 3 receivers you can look at: Jarvis Landry, Kevin Galladay, but he's been kind of on and off. You know, he was really good at the Detroit Lions, but he's terrible with the Lions. So he's a throw up. But we only need a slot guy. Number 3, trying to think of his name now. Man, who was it? Man, I'm drawing blank right now. Jarvis Landry.
That's a good starting point. I mean, I would not be opposed to Jarvis Landry, but you're not going to get anybody to come in here and, fill Mike Evans' shoes should Mike leave. There's just no one out there that has that kind of talent, is that kind of team player, and that kind of leader in the locker room.
Yeah, I would. I'd be down for Jarvis Landry's injury history concerns me, but I would definitely consider him. I just followed the third guy. Buccaneers fans not be happy about this, but I could see it happening possibly. Julio Jones. Julio Jones re-signed with the Bucs, maybe, because he has not got any offers, and he's towards the end of his career now. He probably has a year or 2 left on it. I think.
About a guy that can't stay healthy, though. Holy crap!
Yeah, the options are pretty similar. Like a guy that kind of gets hurt, or a guy that showed up for like 2 games last year.
Yeah, right.
But there's Kenny Galladay, as long as you can get motivated, try to give him some pump up music, make sure because last I heard in Giants, I heard he was just kind of chilling. He's like, man, I'm going to get there when I get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I'm not sure what happened with him. Like, I just heard he was very unmotivated, didn't really care too much. But, if he could get a little motivated, then I think he'd be a great addition to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If he can play like he did with the Detroit Lions.
Well, this weekend, it's the kickoff. Actually, tomorrow night's the kickoff, the Chiefs and the Lions. But the game we'll be paying attention to will be Sunday afternoon. At Gage, they're playing one of your favorite teams, I know, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep. I grew up a Vikings fan. And so they're a very familiar team. The Vikings, it's good. The team I grew up watching, they're basically gone now. But the Vikings, I'm telling you, it's going to be an exciting game. But this is not a team we want to underestimate. The Vikings, they had a terrible defense last year, but you got to see who they have now as a defensive coordinator, who is very well known, Brian Flores. He had a winning record with the Dolphins until that whole suing thing when he sued the Dolphins for off-season temperament. But he did really good as a defense coordinator before then with the New England Patriots, and currently, the season prior was with the Steelers as a linebacker coach. So he has a hell of a resume, and he's known for turnover defense very quickly. So I think the Vikings, I think their defense goes up to like top 15 spot. So I think the Vikings defense is going to be better. Maybe not right at first because it takes a couple of games for them to really get rolling. But the offense can be ready to go right away because they have chemistry. They've known each other for years. And they got one of the best receivers. I think the best receiver in the NFL, and that's JJ, Justin Jefferson. Like, dude, that's going to be hard, man. Carson Davis is really going to have to pick it up week 1.
Yeah, well, I think Jamel Dean will probably be on him probably a little more than Davis. And that's one of the most interesting matchups in that game that I have pinpointed is the Jefferson and Dean matchup. Last year, the Bucs secondary and their pass defense was just horrid. And right out of the gate in game number 1, this is a statement game for the secondary. The Bucs defense can go in there, shut down Justin Jefferson, and show the NFL world, you know what? We're serious. Last year was an aberration. The injuries, the play calling on defense, Todd Bowles was not really able to focus a lot on the defense because of the ineptness of the offense. This is a statement game. The Buccaneers can go into Minnesota, shut down Jefferson, and come out of there with a win. And like you said earlier, I agree with everything you said about Brian Flores and that defense. Flores is an excellent defensive coach, but nobody wants to play anybody in the preseason. So these guys are going to get their first taste of what it's like to play together with one another, communicate with one another. And I know they've done it in practice, and I know they maybe played 5 minutes in a preseason game, but to do it for 60 minutes is a little different. You're going to be
maybe it's that bit.
You're going to be faced with offensive situations, put under some pressure that you haven't seen yet and you haven't experienced. The other matchup that's really intriguing is going to be Dave Canales, the new offensive coordinator for the Bucs, against Brian Flores, the new Vikings defensive coordinator. How's that matchup going to play out? I think that's an intriguing one to watch as well.
Definitely. I think a lot of people are doubting Canales, but I think he's a great offensive coordinator. I mean, look at what he's done with the Seattle Seahawks. He's developed and brought in a lot of great receivers. Golden Tate, Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett, all those guys. You know what I mean? Besides DK, because he was a newer player. But all the receivers he's developed, he's done a great job with. And he helped Geno Smith get his comeback victory or his comeback season. So I think Dave Canales is going to do great. And we saw flashes in preseason. That's not even that's only the tidbit. We're going to see all kinds of tricks there in the first week one. And with Justin Jefferson, I don't think you can fully shut him down, but I think we can get him under 100 yards at least. It's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be an up and down game. I think I hate to say it, I feel like it's going to happen. I feel like it's going to be a shootout. You know what I mean? I feel like it's going to be an up and down game of both teams because they're both getting used to defense or getting used to offenses because they're both they've lost players and gotten some rookies because we have a lot of young players on the defense now. I think Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins are going to be battling it out during week one.
Well, with Canales now as the offensive coordinator, the success he had with Geno Smith in Seattle last season, that gives me a lot of hope for the Buccaneers offense this season because Baker's due for a comeback season. He's playing this season with a huge chip on his shoulder, whether anybody thinks he is or not. He is. He's out to prove to the world that the opinion they have of him is 100% wrong. And he's going to be a baller, and he's going to be a leader in that locker room, and he's going to be feisty, and he's going to be nasty against the opponent on game day, and we're going to see a good Baker Mayfield this year. I think he can be just as good as he was that year that he led the Browns to the playoffs when he threw 26 touchdown passes against 6 interceptions. I think that's the kind of season and the type of season we're going to see from Baker Mayfield under Dave Canales.
I 100% agree. I was just saying, I think I was tweeting this, earlier today, Baker Mayfield's going to have his best season. Everyone is hating on him. Even half the fan base is hating on him right now. Baker Mayfield, the one thing I did research on Baker, his whole career. Like he walked on in 2 colleges,
yes,
Texas Tech and Oklahoma. This guy, he's always had his back against the wall. Mm-hmm. Even in Cleveland, everyone, they had hope, but they thought he would suck like every other quarterback, but he didn't. Baker Mayfield, when his back's against the wall, he's like a saber-toothed tiger. Like he's gonna claw and fight for every yard, for every touchdown. Baker Mayfield, he's gonna show everyone who he really is. That he belonged. He was supposed to be drafted number 1 overall. He earned that shit. And he's going to do in Tampa, and he's going to show why you should never doubt him for 1 second.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I'm in the minority when I think the Buccaneers are going to have a record that's going to surprise a lot of people. I have them over 500, not by much, but I have them over 500. And I think they could possibly get one of the last wild card spots. That's how I feel about this Buccaneers team. Now, the line for the game this week, it's one of the highest ones I've ever seen for the Buccaneers against an opponent. The Vikings are favored by 6. Now, I understand it's on the road. It's in Minnesota. Everybody's doubting the Bucs. Nobody believes in Baker. But 6 points, man, come on.
Dude, that's not even the start of it, dude. I've seen so many things about the Bucs. Everyone says we're going to suck. We're not making the playoffs. But they're hyping up the Saints. But with Mike Thomas, who hasn't had 1,000 yards since 2019, before the pandemic, and Alvin Kamara, he's like 28 now. He's about almost 29 now.
Mm-hmm.
He's an older running back, and he hasn't really done that well in a couple of years. I don't see it, man. Like we have young upcoming running back. We have young players that are balling out. Like this team is only on the uprise. Like I think we're going to do like it's like what Tom Bolsa said. We're only retooling our team. We're not rebuilding. We're retooling. Like we're just refueling our team. Tom Brady wasn't this team. We built this team for a decade, and we're ready to roll. I think we win the division. I think I'm going to be bold. 10-7. I think we might lose a couple games in the middle of the season. A little bit in the beginning, but towards the second half of the season, I think we're going to be rolling. And I think we're going to show everyone who we really are.
I have the Buccaneers going 9-8. Just a little better than last season, one game better than last season. Now, that could change as we get into October and November and the injuries or, maybe better than we had anticipated. But the same guys that are predicting the Bucs to have 6 wins and are so high on the New Orleans Saints are the same people that don't even have Mike Evans as a top 10 receiver in the league. So you just have to take their opinion with a grain of salt.
Yeah. If you'll put Mike Evans at top 10, he has 1,000 yards every year, and he's going after Jerry Rice's record. Then obviously, I don't really consider you as a top analyst. I really just don't. Because Mike Evans, he's a top 5 receiver, like no question. He's breaking records at this point. Like, come on now.
Yeah. One other matchup that I want to touch on real quick. As we all know, Tristan Wirfs moved over to the left side now, and it's going to present, I think, a couple of challenges for him, especially in the first game. Baker's a much more mobile quarterback than Tom Brady, so Wirfs is going to have to be aware of that, number one. Number two, he's going to be matched up against Hunter, Danny Hunter, who was the Vikings sack leader last year with 10.5 sacks. So right away, I mean, Wirfs is going to be thrown right into it, and we're going to get a pretty good feel of how that move to the other side of the line was for him.
And Danielle Hunter, he was on the right side of the line last year, which is more unnatural for him. He's on his natural side, which is the left side. Mm-hmm. So Danielle Hunter got 10 sacks on his unnatural position. Imagine what he's going to do when he's more comfortable. He's going to be dangerous. Like this guy, keep in mind, this guy, I think it was a year or 2 ago, 2 or 3 years ago, he had like 19 sacks. Like this dude's crazy. You know what I mean? Like he's a guy you don't mess with. But if anyone could do it, it could be Tristan Wirfs. That's a guy I would bet my money on.
Absolutely. Again, he's right up there with Mike Evans, I think, in his category of tackles. He's, I think, top 3 in the league.
Oh, for sure. Danielle Hunter, there's a reason he got paid $15 million this year. You know what I mean? He's earned it. He's earned every dollar. His injury history is just the only thing that held him back. But other than that, he's been solid.
Right. So let me hear from you, Gage. Give me 1, maybe 2 predictions about this Buccaneer team this season. You've already given us one. You think they're going to be 10-7, possibly win the division. What 2 other predictions do you want to share with us for this 2023 season?
I'm going to say 1, Baker Mayfield. I think he gets more touchdowns than he did in 2020, and he hits 4,000 yards with single-digit interceptions.
Okay.
And number 2, Well, this is obvious, but I think Mike Evans gets 1,000 yards once again. Because a lot of people are questioning if he can hit it with Baker Mayfield. I think he hits 1,000 yards.
All right, I've got two for you. Of course, I already told you the Bucs, I think, are going to go 9-8, possibly get a wild card spot, one of the last spots. I think the Buccaneers have two 1,000-yard wide receivers this year. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both go over the 1,000-yard mark. And number two, for the first time in a decade, the Buccaneers have a 1,000-yard rusher in Rachaad White.
The bold, but yes. I think it will happen.
Hey, go big or go home, man.
Exactly, God. And White, I should have said that too, man. Fucking White, he's a guy that could do it. But the line, I think the line's gonna be good this year. And I think he doesn't hit like 1,200 yards, but I think he hits that 1,000-yard mark. Because I think he's gonna have some growing pains there in the season, but I think he's gonna be a great contributor this season, though, overall. And we were talking about this earlier. We were talking about like Leonard Fournette was he's still a free agent. And one thing I loved what Leonard Fournette did the Bucs the last couple of years, but he definitely got comfortable last season, and he gained weight during the off season, and that affected his playing last season. And one thing I could tell between White and Lenny, when Lenny was when he saw White getting reps, you could tell he wasn't happy with it. Like he didn't have that leadership that you want in your star running back. White did. He has great leadership, and you can see that with his teammates and everything like that. And White, when he has the ball, he's dangerous. Like you see that Saints game, they couldn't catch him. They couldn't catch him. There's 4 guys chasing him down. They could not catch him. Like White has the ability and he has the leadership that you want in a running back. And he's on his rookie deal, so it is an ideal situation. And it shows the Bucs they're not content on after Tom Brady we're done and that's it. We won our Super Bowl. We'll go home. Now we're gonna keep going, bro. We're only retooling. Like this is gonna be a dangerous team. Hey, Baker's feeling dangerous too, so you know what I mean.
Yes, he is. Yes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a good game on Sunday. I think the Bucs sneak out of Minnesota with a win. I'm going to say it's 34-30 Buccaneers.
I think 28-24. I think it's going to be a shooter, but I think Vikings are going to keep. They're going to do a safe bet and kick a field goal, hoping they hold the Bucs at the very last drive. The Buccaneers get a touchdown to win the game. So I think it's going to be really tight.
Yeah, I think it's going to be back and forth, and the team that has the ball last just might end up winning it, as you alluded to. It's going to be that kind of game, I believe.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it's going to be the game of the week. Game of the weekend, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, were there any surprises to you on the final 53-man roster? Any surprises?
Any surprises? I'm going to say Tucker. Tucker, I knew he was going to make the roster, but as a number 2 guy, I was surprised. I got to move my thing here. Phone's dying right now. Dies quickly. But Tucker, yeah, I got to bring a portable charger next time. But Tucker, as a number 2 guy, that is impressive. He had a hell of a college career, but number 2 spot, it's crazy. It's wild. And as undrafted, that shows you how good he is. So I think Tucker and White, it could be a 2-headed monster.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not surprised at Sean Tucker. I have been a big fan of Sean Tucker and on the Sean Tucker bandwagon since they signed him in the spring. He should have been a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick had he not had the injury. And nobody wanted to take a chance on him. Bucs saw that. They saw his talent, what he can do on the field. They knew that he would get healthy again, and he earned that RB2 spot behind Rachaad White. So I wasn't really surprised by that. I've been a huge fan of his, and knew that he was going to make the team, just based on his overall ability. Two surprises for me. Number one was Keyshawn Vaughn making the team. The dude had 17 yards last year. And I think the only reason that he made the team is Chase Edmonds' health is kind of in question. I think he'll play in Minnesota, but he's still kind of dinged up, banged up a little bit, getting over an injury. But I think that's the only reason that Vaughn's on the team, because I don't know where he's going to get his carries this season with the running back room situated the way it is, with White, Tucker, and then a healthy Chase Edmonds. So
I think he saw that.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, he saw he was on excuse during practice. He didn't even show up.
Right. And the second thing was that the Bucs really rolled the dice, and they have gone from one of the oldest rosters to one of the youngest rosters in the league. They have six rookies that they drafted made the team, and they have a total of, I believe it's 13 rookies / undrafted free agents on the team. So they really rolled the dice. We'll see if it plays out and works in their favor or not. I've seen some reports that people are doubting that that young talent is going to be that good and will be able to carry the Bucs to some wins all season. But I like the roster. I think they definitely needed to go younger. They needed to add some toughness. They needed to add some physicality. They needed to add some speed. And I think all these guys that they drafted and the free agents that they brought in have all added to that. And I think the Bucs have a well-rounded team. Not that there's not any holes, or not that they're perfect in every position, but from where they were a year ago, I'm glad to see them go younger, and it speaks well, I think, for the future of football and winning football in Tampa.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And even Top Bowles said, if you told me during the draft that I would have 6 undrafted players, or 13 that you just mentioned, to be on the roster, I would have said you're crazy. They did not expect to have this many undrafted players be in a roster, but that shows you how good the scouting department was to show you, like, these guys are special. And it shows a lot of great work with Jason Light. He's been taking a lot of heat, especially how last season went. But, man, he's done really well with the draft and everything. He's hit all the points. What we need, not the sexy picks, not getting a top receiver or something like that, but the positions we need. And it shows. We have a young roster. We have them drafted free agents, a roster like that. That's insane to me. You don't hear that too often. So I feel like it's a special team. Like, I really do. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I was kind of iffy with. I was really happy at Baker Mayfield, but I did not know how this team's going to turn out. They have so far they've passed my expectations of how far they're playing so far.
Well, I wouldn't say they've surpassed expectations. They go, they start 5-2 or 7-3. Then we'll say, oh, well, they've surpassed expectations, And then all of a sudden, we're going to hear all those national media people talk about, oh, yeah, look at Tampa. Oh, we want to, shout out to this guy, that guy.
That's bad. They didn't forget how much trash they talked. What I was trying to discuss was like the preseason. For what, like, I didn't expect too much from the preseason. I was expecting a lot of rough patches, but they had that group, the Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, they played outstanding. And even the rookies did. I was surprised.
Well, in the brief time that those guys played, they did well. I was really impressed with the young guys. Sean Tucker had a great preseason. Devin Tompkins, Trey Palmer, Raheem Jarrett, defensive side of the ball. The last preseason game against I believe it was Baltimore. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka really showed up after the quarterback all game, had a sack or two, just looked like the player that we expected him to be when we drafted him. And if we get that player for all 17 games this season, that's going to make a world of difference on the Buccaneer defense. So I'm looking for big things, from him. And I expect him to deliver. This is year 3 for him, and it's kind of a make or break year. So hopefully he does well and will really make an impact on the defense.
Yeah, last season was very disappointing. You know what I mean? Like he got 5 sacks as a backup to damn, I can't. I'm drawing blanks so far. Trying to think the guy from the Giants.
Well, Pierre-Paul, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, Pierre-Paul.
Pierre-Paul didn't play last year.
Yeah, I forget about him because I feel like he's been around forever. So I thought for a while I thought he was retired. But he came to Tampa after he got traded. But yeah, he had like 5 sacks under him as a backup, and I was kind of disappointed. I thought he's really going to take a big step last year, but he kind of declined. I didn't see him at all. He didn't make a difference. So this year, I'm hoping he shows up. I like I like the chemistry he has in the defense. I think he has good leadership as well. You can kind of see that with him, but he really needs to step up playing wise. Even Top Bowles mentioned that. This is basically his make it or break it year. This is it for Joe Tryon, and he needs a year. This has to be it for him. 10 sacks, go get it, man. This is the time to do it. We need you.
Yeah. So you and I both have the Bucs winning on Sunday in Minnesota, and maybe we'll wrap up the show with some sad news on a former Buccaneer, Mike Williams. He was drafted in 2010, was runner-up rookie of the year that season, had 964 receiving yards, and he was in a real serious accident this week.
Yeah, it was I believe it was on September 1st, about a week ago. He was in a construction accident working there. He got hit by one of those beams, and it hit right on his head. So he had a pretty traumatic brain injury, and he can't move anything. He can't move he can't move one of his arms, the lower part of his body, everything. And right now, his family's weighing on options. Yesterday or the day prior, he was reported dead. That was not the case. The reporter actually messed up that. The family's still weighing options, see what they can do. So far, he has been unresponsive, so we're looking good for him right now. So guys, Buccaneers fans, everyone in the NFL community, give prayers to Mike Williams and his family. I could not imagine what that family's going through. His wife, his kids. Yeah, man, that's a very hard decision to make. And dude's really young. He's 35. It shows you that you don't know when your ticket's going to be punched.
Mm-hmm.
So always be grateful and give love to those around you, man, because you just never know.
Very, very well said. I could not have said it better myself. So prayers to Mike, his family. Keep our fingers crossed, and let's just hope for the best.
Yeah, he's a Buck. He's a Buck. Once a Buck, always a Buck. So right. Mike Williams will be praying for you, bud, and get through this. Keep fighting. And I think we're gonna wrap it up with that. That was that's a good message. Mike Williams. It's a tough situation. So I hope he pulls through.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Definitely glad we caught you before the Sunday starts. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe, and I hope you buck that. And